Hey guys, so after my last video about learning algorithms, a lot of you wanted to know my techniques for learning algorithms because I do learn a fair amount of them and I'm okay at it, I guess. So I thought I'd share some of the techniques that I use to make learning algorithms a lot easier. Now these aren't the only techniques you can use, these are just what I use and I think they work pretty well. So without further ado, here we go. Number 1. Learn algs in sets and subdivide those sets into smaller sets. This is one of the easiest ways to make learning algs easier. Most last layer alg sets are already subdivided to some extent, but it's even easier to learn them if you can subdivide further. For example, the set I'm learning right now, TTLL, contains 72 algorithms, which are subdivided into 6 sets of 12 based on the permutation of the corners on the puzzle. Here's one of those sets of 12, recognizable because all the corners on the F and R face in the U layer are solved. One of my subdivisions of the set is with visible bars, where an edge is solved relative to a corner on one of the faces I can see, making a block. Then, I further subdivide this set into adjacent edge swaps and opposite edge swaps. Now it's subdivided enough that I can very quickly recognize a case in each of these sets. Number 2. Use mnemonics. For example, here are 2 TTLL cases. One of them is solved using a supersoon, and the other one with a super anti-soon. However, to solve supersoon, you need to do a U2 AUF before the algorithm. The memory trick I use to distinguish between these two cases is this. You don't do 2 U2s in a row, which is why the U2 goes with the supersoon, not the super anti-soon. And there needs to be a 1x1x2 block in the front left, which is why this case is supersoon. You have to do a U2 to bring the block to the front left. This is kind of a convoluted way to remember it, but it works for me, so the trick is to just find whatever works for you for each of these cases. Number 3, memorize triggers. Here's an algorithm I use. As you can see, the first part of the algorithm is just RU2 R'U' repeated twice. So, instead of remembering the full algorithm, I just remember that at the start of it, that trigger is used twice. You can do this for most algorithms. Also, if an algorithm has RU' in it, commonly known as the sexy move, you can just remember that entire part of the algorithm as sexy. The same goes for sledgehammer or hedge slammer. Number 4, learn mirrors and inverses. Often, learning a case forwards and learning that same algorithm backwards will solve a completely different case, and the same with solving one case with like RU moves and LU moves, or RU versus R'U' moves. If you learn mirrors and inverses, often you can solve a lot of different cases using just one algorithm performed different ways. It's not always easier to learn, because sometimes doing an algorithm backwards feels completely different from doing it forwards, but sometimes this can help you a lot and save you a lot of memorization. Once you have 2 cases that can be solved with a mirror or an inverse, you can use a mnemonic, like I said earlier, to distinguish between them. And number 5, you only have to learn half or a small part of some algs. Often, for last layer algorithms especially, you're just doing a few moves, and then you're just solving the cube exactly how you would normally, like you're inserting an F2L pair or something. For example, here's this algorithm that I use. I memorize this algorithm as R'U2 RU2, which is kind of like a trigger, then the sexy trigger, and then just inserting the F2L pairs exactly how I would in a normal solve. And that's about it for this video. I hope that you can use those techniques, and maybe this encouraged you to learn an alg set that you wouldn't have learned otherwise. I know that for a lot of advanced cubers, some of the stuff I've said is going to seem real obvious, but I just know personally when I was starting out and I didn't know all this stuff, I didn't use this, algorithms were so much harder to learn, so hopefully this helped out some of you less experienced cubers out there. But yeah, that's about it, so thanks for watching and I'll see you on Friday.